The 4th of July weekend is prime time for teen drinking. The Drug Abuse Warning Network estimates that emergency room visits caused by underage alcohol abuse will nearly double over the holiday. And another troubling new study finds more drinking and drug use by young people, especially young girls. Let's talk about this with early show contributor Dr. Jennifer Hartstein, a child and adolescent psychologist. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's talk about these numbers a little bit. How much are alcohol and drug abuse up among teens?
The numbers are actually staggering. Alcohol abuse over 2008 to 2009 has gone up 11%. Ecstasy use up 67%, and marijuana use up 19%. So they really have increased dramatically in a one-year period, and that's kind of really disturbing, I would say.
Isn't it interesting from the standpoint that in years past, weren't we seeing sort of a long, sort of slow decrease in the amount of, particularly marijuana use and some other things like that?
There was a decades-long decline, and over the past 2 or 3 years, there's been a steady rise, and this 2008 to 2009 timeframe shows an incredibly high rate of increase.
And what is it, I think the other thing that really stands out in these statistics is the number of young women who are indulging in this stuff.
Absolutely. Young women in some of these studies have been shown to be equaling their male counterparts in how much they're using drugs, which was not usually the case. So we have to question why. And one of the things we're wondering is, we always looked at boys. They were on our radar. Girls talked out their problems. Girls dealt with social situations better. But girls are saying they do feel more at ease. They are able to forget their problems when they're drinking and using drugs. They feel more comfortable at parties to interact with their friends, similarly to boys have in the past.
Wow, we have had this conversation so many times before, and one of the things that keeps being brought up is the idea you have to constantly communicate with your kids and eat dinner with them and all these other kinds of things to keep the lines of communication open. At some point, your child is going to say, so what did you do?
Of course.
And so what in your case, what are you going to do when somebody asks you that question?
You can't lie. Your instinct is going to want to be to deny, deny, deny. And the fact is, your kids might see you having a beer or having a glass of wine, so they know that's not accurate. So you want to tell just enough to explain that you've tried things, and enough to give information about why they might not want to try things, how you might have gotten in trouble, and educate them on how to make good choices.
Do you know how phony that sounds, though, to a teenager? If you're sitting there and you say, well, you know what? I tried beer when I was 16 years old, and it was a bad experience. And then the kid is going to say, and they may still say, great, but I'm going to do it anyway. And you want to say to them, look, I got really plastered at this party and got really sick. It was a horrible experience. You may make your own choices, but let's talk about the pros and cons of it. Let's talk about what might happen if you make bad choices and how I can help you. So you're better off telling more of a truth than less of a truth.
Yes, to a degree. You're not going to tell the same thing to your 10-year-old that you're going to tell to your 17-year-old. So you want to take into account the developmental nature of your child.
The other thing that, as we looked at those statistics about the increase in not only alcohol use, but especially in drug use. And I think it's important for parents to understand the marijuana that they may have experimented with or even used 20 years ago is much different than the stuff that's out there now.
The drugs the kids are using now are much more potent. The marijuana is not the strain of marijuana that you smoked when you were 17 if you're their parent. So they are going to be more high, more drunk, everything's more. So you have to be really careful and just educate. The earlier you get involved as a parent in educating your kid, the better of a protective factor that is. Research shows that over and over and over again. We've talked about it many times.
And resource-wise, I mean, if you're out there and you're if you're recognizing things that you just are making you nuts, what should you be doing?
If you're just flummoxed, there's great places to look at on the web, and two really great sites are the antidrug.com and also drugfree.org, and they have great parent resources. And SAMHSA, which is a governmental body, has lots of resources too, so you can look at all those. I think we're going to post those on the website too.
They're right up on the screen.
There you go.
All right, Dr. Jennifer Hartstein, thank you so much.
Thanks.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.